guys, before we dive into the podcast, I just wanted to pop in here real quick and let you know that my annual masterclass, all about process, is coming back. I will be sharing the 5 steps to build your unique process and eliminate the chaos. During our time together, we will cover why you need to make a decision about who your business serves. We'll cover how to plan out your calendar so that you can gain control of your life. Yes. And work on your business to avoid burnout and overwhelm. We'll cover how to get accurate feedback on how your business is really running and the ways you can use the comparison on social media to your advantage. Yep, you heard that right. It's all about how to build a process that is unique to your business and your style. So if this sounds like everything you need to kickstart your process journey, to learn more, visit RebeccaHay.com/masterclass. I'll see you there. And now, let's dive into the podcast.
Hey, it's Rebecca, and you're listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I interview one of my top star students in our designer community. Jocelyn Polce has been in Power of Process. She's taken Momentum Marketing, and she is in our monthly Designers Room coaching group. And she is truly inspirational. I cannot wait for you guys to hear this episode. She has been, I'm going to let you guys listen to it, but she basically went within 12 months. She has overhauled and transformed her business. She has implemented a process and attracted an entirely different clientele than she had only 12 months ago. And I'll let her share in her own words how she has done this. Enjoy this episode with Jocelyn.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. There is literally nothing better than staying in my abode all-day PJs, all day. These beauty, buttery, soft pajamas come in 3 fabulous colors, and trust me, you will never want to take them off. Check them out at lovemyabode.com and type in Resilient10 to get $10 off your very first order.
Oh my goodness. Look who I have today. I have one of our top members of our design community here. Jocelyn, how do you pronounce your last name? I've always wondered this. Is it Polce? Or is it?
That sounds much better than the way we pronounce it. Actually, Polce.
Polce. Oh, I thought it was like an Italian.
I mean, I'll tell you, that sounds so much fancier. I love it.
All right. So, Jocelyn, why don't you start off by letting those who are listening know who you are?
Okay. So, hi, everybody. I am Jocelyn Polce, owner and principal designer at August Oliver Interiors. We are a full-service design studio based in Connecticut. And our focus is on full home transformations for those families that we work with, from initial concepts and designs right down to that last decorative element that goes into their spaces. And our goal is always for our clients to move right in and start living immediately. So start to finish, turnkey.
Amazing. Well, maybe let everybody know, actually, I'm super curious. How did you find me?
It's so funny that it's actually, you don't know this, obviously, but it's our 1-year anniversary of me discovering you. Which is so good. I said this morning. I was following another designer on Instagram, and you must have just popped up in my feed somehow. And I got addicted, right? I discovered the podcast, but I was watching the podcast or listening to the podcast through YouTube, I think. I have never listened to a podcast before in my life. So it was 1 year ago. I was painting my son's bedroom, a green color. And I just stumbled upon you. And then I just binge listened to every single episode. And that was a game changer. So it's happy anniversary 1 year.
Happy anniversary. Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I'm very excited. So this makes it even more interesting and unique because I want to hear your journey then over the last year, because I have seen you and I have witnessed you inside our courses and inside our membership community grow exponentially. So maybe let's start at the very beginning. No any, what is that, Sound of Music? Very good place to start. Sound of Music. Yes.
So,
yeah, let's start at the beginning. Like, where were you a year ago?
well, a year ago, I was trapped at home with my 5 little boys. I talk about this all the time. So I have 5 boys. Oldest is 8 now, and the youngest is 22 months. So I had a relatively new baby, and we were all like, they were home. There was no school. It was wild. And I have been doing design. I mean, it's like everybody, right? Like you've been doing design sort of your whole life. You have this passion. I really started wanting to do design like at a very young age. And I went to college and I walked into my first interior design class and kind of had a panic attack. And it was like a really competitive, like already it felt very competitive and kind of cutthroat. And I was just like, oh my God, this can't be for me. I don't want this type of pressure. It was very stressful. So I switched my major and decided to do political science and journalism because I was like, well, I'll just, become a politician and change the world.
You know that I also did political science in university.
That's so funny.
My degree is in poli-sci. Yep.
That's great. Oh my gosh. So yeah, because that was going to be easier to make money at than interior design. My advisor told me, which is hilarious. So I changed that, sort of went down this whole different path, but always really just was passionate about design in every way. And started working at consulting firms for nonprofit fundraising. And then in 2013, had my first son, and going back to work was really hard. I was not passionate about fundraising and fundraising for an Ivy League university who already has tons of money. And so I went back to work and then just was like, I can't do this every day. I can't do something that doesn't like feed my soul. And so I left after my second and formed August Oliver Interiors and then started working on sort of really small projects, doing consulting. And then, for 5 years, I sort of was in and out, back and forth with projects, but none of them were really like these full projects that like lit me up every single day. And so when I listened to your podcast and your guests were so incredible and started hearing about the power of process, I was like, wait a second, there is a better way. Like I can do this full time. I can actually make money at it, but also just love going to work every day. Like sign me up. So I was all into it.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So then you signed up for Power of Process and you did it this past spring, right?
Yeah, I think it was February we started.
February, yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, about taking the course and sort of how has learning more about process through the course and in general, how has that affected your business? Like how have you changed your business through those learnings? It's a big question.
I think, for me, process brings a lot of clarity. And with clarity, I think comes confidence. And for me, getting some of these bigger projects, I felt like I was lacking this confidence because I wasn't sure of the exact steps that I should be taking, who my ideal client was, what type of projects did I really want to have. And so power of process and going through and really dialing in on all of those details and really digging deep and figuring out what is it that I want? What is it that I'm really great at? It was a game changer for me. It brought me that clarity and that confidence to go after these bigger projects. And it didn't take long for me to sort of go on and land some really important big projects to me that have changed the game completely.
So what in your mind, like what would you define as a small project from before and a big project now? Like how would you define that?
Okay, so before I was really excited when I would book just a consultation with somebody. And so these were sort of sold as like, let me come into your house and give you some advice. And it was up to 2 hours. I would go into someone's house. They would pay me $65. And I would then tell them every single detail, like down to what kind of wallpaper I think should go in their dining room on the wall and the brand. And then I would type it all up in a document, which would probably take me like an hour because I'm also a perfectionist with things like that. And I probably spent 5 hours putting this together for $65. And I gave the person like this whole blueprint. And then nothing ever happened sort of after that.
Stop. You have to stop for a second. I want everybody to think about that for a second. That is insane value, by the way. Those people got so lucky that they were able to pay only $65 for all that value. And I know that there's people listening who maybe they don't charge $65. Maybe they charge $200, but probably still putting in all that work and giving away all that information just to let the clients go off and do it themselves. And I think that that's a really interesting that I can't believe you charge $65. I'm insane. How much do you charge now for a consultation? Sorry, I interrupted you.
$425.
$425. 2022, how much are you going to charge for a consultation?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm still doing those planning numbers now.
$550. Okay, so continue. I just think that's really, I just wanted to pause for a moment because I know there's a lot of people out there who are undervaluing the value that they offer, right? It's like, think about that. The type of wallpaper. Oh my God. I bet somebody would pay you $100 just so you could tell them what type of paper to put on a wall, let alone design the entire freaking house.
Yeah. So then I would also, my other sort of like hot ticket item, which is so funny to think about, was doing a mood board and a room layout. And so I would literally give them dimensions of like the max size of an item that would go in there. So if you're out looking for a sofa, look for one that's up to 92 inches and make sure it has low arms and all of this. And so I sold that for like $525. Like it was like, that was my high price sort of item. But I obviously don't offer those services anymore. I'm really focused on those full transformations. And so that's what I'm most excited about for sure.
Hold on. Did you have any full service products before?
I did. I had a couple of them that were priced extremely low. Like I think I did a full room transformation once for $650 where I literally bought all of the items and brought it and staged it and photographed it. Thinking back, like I was just excited to design. Like I would design anyone's space at any time, like at a drop of a hat. Like I can't help but go into a room and just imagine it done and like to its full potential. And so it just excites me to get to do it. So I just felt like, oh, great. Like they want me to do this. I'll take anything. I just want to do it. But in reality, I have 5 little boys who are 1, always hungry, and 2, like to play hockey. So I had to make this business profitable. And so that has been one of the biggest things that's come out of Power Process for me too, is that this is a business and I have to make money at it. And I want to attract those clients that appreciate my expertise and guiding them through the entire process and handling all of the details.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's important to remember, like, not to be hard on ourselves for our early days. I mean, your early days is like only 12 months ago, but it's amazing. It's just amazing to see your transformation. But it's, part of it is sometimes you just have to do some work for free or for a low wage just so you can build up your confidence and your skill set. And so that's okay. But at some point you have to say, okay, that's enough. I'm adding value. I am good enough. I need to charge more. I need to scale up because you're only doing yourself a disservice, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think, it's the confidence thing, right? I had a few clients who were repeat clients. And so it was really hard to think about how I would charge them the next project. And so I couldn't really go to that next level having the same clients. And it was hard because I've had to let those clients go because I'm not doing a room for $1,200. I'm not doing a room for $5,000 anymore. And so I think that was really hard for me to sort of get over.
So how much are you doing a room for, or are you not doing single rooms anymore?
I'm not doing single rooms anymore. For me, I feel like I can make the most impact by really looking at an entire level or an entire home sort of holistically. And before, when I was going in, I was thinking, okay, so they already painted, so we don't need to paint, or, oh, the door handle is okay. But for me now, looking at every detail, I want to have the ability to give them that full transformation, and changing all of those details is important, and making sure everything is cohesive and works together and works for them. I want them to love every element of it. So just doing one room doesn't give them that life-changing experience when they walk into a house.
I mean, I have to say, Jocelyn, and I know everyone is thinking this, like, holy heck, like seriously, the transformation, like, truly, I am amazed at the progress that you have made in such a short period of time. Like, you obviously are very smart, savvy entrepreneur, because you're taking like a sponge. Like, you're so cute. I remember at one point you sent me a DM. You're like, Rebecca, I'll do anything you tell me. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I'm like, you are like the dream student because you actually implement everything you learn, and you are like, proof is in the pudding, right? Like, you are just doing all the things. It's like, I just think it's so inspirational to see that in a short period of time, you can turn your business around. You can transform it. You can turn it into whatever you want it to look like. And people that are listening, you may not want to have full service design, and that's fine. But maybe there is something else that you want to do. Like, it is possible within a year to make major change, and it's so inspirational for other people to see you and follow your story and learn. So tell me a little bit about, what do you do when somebody reaches out to you now because they maybe were referred to you by a past client, and that's what you were known for what you used to do? How do you handle that situation when someone comes to you because they want you to do what you did for their friend, but you're like, I don't do that anymore?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's sort of like nipped in the bud, right? With the discovery call. And of course, I got the discovery call script from you last December and started using it. And obviously I've tweaked it a bit now and added in some other questions to sort of filter out the types of projects that I'm not suited to do anymore. And I think one of the important things that you've sort of taught us too is that it's not about me not wanting to take on those projects, but it's about how can I serve clients the best. And for me, doing a mood board and layout, like, I can't serve them to the best of my potential. I can't give them what they're looking for by just charging them for a mood board and room layout. Like, they might actually need something else to get them where they are. And so I want to serve them and make sure what we're doing works for both of us. And so the discovery call, I think, is so important to me. And just being able to pick out those red flags, right? I have an ideal client in my mind. I've been lucky enough to already have found my ideal client in this like first full-time year of my business. And I keep going back to that. I keep thinking to myself, are they going to be excited to see me when I come over? Are they going to be understanding if one of my boys gets sick and I have to reschedule something? Are they going to be texting me at 11 p.m. because maybe they want to change X, Y, or Z? Do they trust me enough to present the full design, commit to it, and then let me handle all of the implementing? And so these are questions that I ask in the discovery call. And I go over my entire process, right? Like, we pick everything and select everything and present it all at once, right down to the door handles. So that way there's no question, there's not a lot of back and forth. And if somebody wants to go shopping with me, or they really want to pick out all of these different things and sit and test and all of that, I explain to them that that's not our process and isn't the ideal situation. So of course I have had my own sort of like, oh, it's okay, I guess it's just that one red flag. And I've taken a project on, or I've gone sort of a step back, and it never pays to go off of your process. It always comes back to get you. So.
Totally. I still do it. We had our year in review with the team, and one of the issues that popped up is one of our partners is like, we need to stick to our process because we've been making exceptions lately for clients. And
one leads to the next. Like, one exception, you just start going down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, totally. So talk to me about this confidence piece, because hearing you say this, you sound so nice, by the way. Like, your discovery call sounds amazing. I feel like what I need to do is reach out to people who've taken the discovery call script that I have and modified it. Like, everybody shared their version. I think that would be so interesting. Yeah. Because I love what you said, like right down to the doorknob. Like, I'm like, ooh, that's good. I'm going to use that. So you sound natural.
I had one project and literally the doorknobs were terrible, and I didn't put it in the budget, and I felt so bad because we ended up spending thousands of dollars on like new hardware, but it made such a difference. And so now I always mention door handles and hinges and like literally everything.
I love that. It's so true though, because we've been there. Like, I've totally been in those projects where you're standing there and it's like the elephant in the room to the designer, right? You're looking over, you're like, oh God, it's so ugly, but it's brand new, like brand new cheap doors. And how do I make the recommendation without offending them? And then sometimes clients are like, well, is it really necessary? In your head, you're like, yes, absolutely.
100%.
So if you can set that expectation early and often, right? We always say that that's what you need to do. Then they know when you're in their house and you mention the doorknobs. Well, you've already said it in the call. But so my question is, like, you sound so confident and it comes so naturally to you. When you switched to this full service design and using a discovery call, was it scary? Was it hard? Or did it just kind of, you used the script and you were like, boom, off to the races?
Oh, I mean, it's so scary. Everything is scary. Like, being an entrepreneur is scary and terrifying, right? But having that process behind you, there's a reason why I do it this way. I can speak to that. I can talk to my clients about it. Renovating a house and transforming it, it's a huge investment. And for me, taking my clients' money and spending it in these ways. I want to make sure that all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted, that every choice and selection that I'm making and every step that we're taking is checked and verified. And so that way they are confident that I'm doing what's best for them and for their home. And I just think having that process, like you can't get there if you don't have a process and you can't speak to that. And so for me, I always lean and go back to my process. And if they are curious about why we're doing X or why we're doing Z, I can say, well, because we are having trade day, we will get all of this pricing ahead of time. We will not start anything until, we have accurate pricing. We aren't going to start everything until we actually have all the items, because God only knows where items will be in 6 months from now. So I think it's just going back to the process and explaining to clients, why we do what we do. And they're usually, if they're my ideal clients, they're open to that. And they love that because they want to be supported in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel I've always been in like a very customer focused sort of mindset. I'm from the Midwest. And so customer service is amazing in the Midwest. I live on the East Coast now, and it is such a different experience. My parents were in customer service their whole life. So for me, a client experience, I think, is like the most important thing to me. And so I want, I started doing your weekly client updates when we started Power of Process. And for me, that just reassures the clients that we know what we're doing. Even if there's nothing going on, I'm like, hey, we didn't have anything going on, but we're still here. We're still thinking about you, and things are still in the works. And I just think that's so important to really think about the client. And I don't want them to ever be sitting there wondering what's coming next and what to expect. I always remember hearing you say, like, if a client calls us, like, we've done something wrong. We want to be proactive and like letting them know that we're here. And so I always try to hear your little voice in the back of my head, like, oh, I got to send it. I don't send them on Thursdays anymore. I send them on Mondays. But I think it's really important to just really focus on the client experience, because people, renovations are hard. I mean, you just experienced this with your whole kitchen. It's crazy, and timelines can get out of whack, and setting that expectation up and communicating openly, I think, is something that I just do naturally anyway. I'm an oversharer, probably a little bit like you, right? And so I just sort of have that, like, just put it all out there and be honest and upfront and go back to the process as much as possible.
Really, it's so powerful. It's like, the other day we had our client said to one of my designers, because now I'm not the one sending email anymore, it's my design team. And the designer said to me, she's like, it's so funny, I was on site and our client said to me, oh, I'm really looking forward to getting your email tomorrow. And my designer was like, it's so weird because, like, I've been seeing her every day all week. What does she think's going to be in the email that I haven't already said on site? But it was really great to hear that. I said, no, this is a positive thing. This means that we have developed a routine that our clients know, love, and expect. And even if it's, like you say, just like a little fluff, like, hey, we're really excited at how things are progressing. Like, I know the paint is almost finished. Can't wait till next week when the electricians arrive or something like that.
Yeah, I've had clients say to me, and especially my first ideal client, she was like, I look forward to getting your email on Friday mornings. I just love it when I see it and get it. It gets me excited about the project again, because projects, obviously, like, there's so many different phases, and it's really heavy, when you first are initially talking with someone, and then it sort of goes dark a little bit when you're designing, and then you sort of get the beginning of the implementation and they see you a lot, and then you're sort of waiting, and then there's like these phases where you're heavy and in front of them, and then you're not. And so it's just like that consistency that I think I found that they really, really love. And it's exciting. Like, if you have your ideal client, you want to talk to them, like, you want to communicate with them, and you want to keep them excited. And so for me, that's the best thing, because when they're happy, like, it makes me excited. I want to give them an amazing experience. And my ideal client is someone who I'd have a glass of wine with on the weekend, who my kids would, like, go to the park and play with. And so I really tried to focus on that when I'm on my discovery call. Is this somebody that I would actually spend time with when this project is over? Is this somebody that I want to invite me back to their house and do the second floor, or something else? So that's sort of like always my last question. Like, do I want to spend more time with this person?
So in your calls, do you often say no?
I am so bad at saying no. I recently took a project and I knew I should have said no, because we definitely don't mesh well. But I have said no, and I have to get better at saying, like, unfortunately, this isn't a good fit for us. Like, a hard no. I I rarely do hard nose, but I will explain to them that this is not the type of package that we offer. And I go over what the cost of a project would be as well, like in that discovery call. So I give them an example, like this many square feet would be about this if your budget was at this amount. And so that way we don't get too far in and book into the consultation and then they are completely caught off guard. And maybe they weren't ideal, but we were going to go in for a consultation anyway. I try to put it all out there in that discovery call. So that way we're going in like eyes wide open, and these consultations will then just lead to these full projects. Because at $65, it's funny. Consultations.
Oh man, I love it though. It makes for a really good story. You know, this is where I was, and now look at me. I like to hear you say that though, when you say, you know, I'm really good at recognizing, I'm thinking, is this the right client? But then when push comes to shove, it's actually hard to say no. And I think that so many of us feel that same way. I think sometimes it's inherently female to want to please and want to help and to feel bad. Well, they've already gotten this far. Like, I don't want them to think that I don't like them, or I don't know what goes through your head, but these are things that I go through. And we recently...
So much nicer than I am, though.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's helpful to just be like very blunt and just be very honest. It's challenging at the time, but afterwards you usually like thank yourself for it. Not that I'm the expert. I was saying to our team, we were looking at our conversions in 2021. And we were looking at how many leads we got. Then many of those turned into a discovery call. And then how many discovery calls turned into consultation. And it was really interesting because I had it wasn't the entire year, but up until September, we had 19 discovery calls. And then only 7 of those turned into a consultation. I don't remember saying no to anyone specifically, but I do remember multiple situations where I could see that there was unrealistic. So I talked about the numbers we typically work with, or I really got clear about how our process works and like we don't shop, or clear about maybe how busy we are when we were able to take on projects. So in some ways I was saying no, but in a softer way. And I think that's something for designers to remember, because everyone's always afraid to say no, but there's ways to let somebody down without directly doing it, right? But educating them on what you have, and then when they can see that it doesn't connect with what they want, and I'll even say sometimes, it sounds to me like you might be able to tackle this project on your own, and maybe just a consultation's enough. Or I know a lot of designers in this city do this size of project. I'd be happy to refer you. Right. So that's like a polite way of saying, and most of the time they don't ask for the referral. They just, they're just like, whatever, they go away.
Other really amazing things that was sort of early on in the power process that you sort of encouraged us to do was really focus in on like one offering. And for me, I was always thinking I had to do all and be all. I had to offer e-design, and I had to offer these one-off consultations, and I had to do like the shop with me situation, and I had to do full service. But then I could also do sort of packages and then have the client implement. And that made it really so much more difficult talking to potential clients. Having all of these offerings made the process in my mind just not clear at all. And everything seemed like it could be a fit because we could adjust and mold and whatever the offering was. But you cannot be everything to everybody all the time, and you can't appeal to everybody. And that's okay. But that is super difficult in the beginning to wrap your head around. But if you don't say no, you don't make room for the projects that like really excite you and that you can make the most difference with. And so that was a huge takeaway for me.
I love that. You can't be everything to everyone. It's so true. And I think too often, and I still catch myself doing that, right? Like I'm on a call with someone and they sound so lovely and they have a great address. And I catch myself in my mind thinking, well, we just do that. Like that would be really, like there's no reason we can't do it. And then I have to stop myself and say, no, anytime I try to take on something that's my process, like you said earlier, it's outside our general workflow. So if our team is used to working 7 steps the same way every time, when I take on my friends like exterior update, I may or may not have done that because she's a repeat client, right? And I'm kind of like, oh, we'll just kind of wing it and we'll skip. Then what happens is no one communicates with them. It kind of slips through the cracks because we're not like, it's not in our funnel. I finally had to say, okay, we got to treat this like a real project, send them a contract, let's get some money, let's put a designer on it. Cause like, there's no way that I can manage it. Cause if I manage it, it won't happen. Because it's anytime we do that, like you said, I always regret it.
Yeah. Friends and family are so difficult, especially early on, I think, in sort of a design career. I think it's, you sort of start with your friends and then you sort of graduate to your friends' friends. And, but I have found it very difficult to sort of, in the beginning, to do that. And now I don't work with friends. I make it very clear that, our budget and our process is the same no matter who we work with. And like you said, it's hard with friendships too, because you think that, okay, well, I'll just do this and whatever, but it does fall through the cracks because you're not treating it as your full-time job, and that it's a business. We have to make money.
Totally. It's so true. I feel like every designer has a different, like some people say, no, I won't work with friends and family. I've heard other people say, yes, just charge your full price for friends and family. I've heard other people say, I'll do a discount for friends and family. I've heard other people say, you know what, I just suck it up and I do it for free if it's really close friends and family. I think it's for everyone. I don't think there's one way to do it. I've done it all the which ways. I've done it for friends who would value it and they are an ideal client and so they can afford the service. Also helped friends, without charging any money. But what happens is invariably I can't deliver the right service because I'm just, send a text message here and there and I don't respond for 4 days and it's not part of what we do. And then it actually reflects poorly on us because it makes us look unprofessional and like organized. And when you do favors for people, they're never the priority, right?
And then also, that's just going to hurt your referrals too, right? Like if your friend doesn't have a great experience because they weren't actually paying for it anyway, they're not going to want to refer you to somebody else, even if they were your ideal client. So it's better to say no in the beginning. Definitely.
I know. Easier said than done sometimes, but I think the more you do it, the better you'll get. So how many projects do you have on the go now?
So we have 9 projects right now.
That's a lot, girl, for someone who was doing 65 consultations only 10, 11 months ago.
So we have 3. I'm looking at my board because I had to write it down. My brain is getting overwhelmed. So we have 3 new ones that we're starting. I've done inspiration days, 2 inspiration days in the last week. So we have 3 projects that are sort of in the beginning, 3 that are in implementation, and then 3 that are sort of smaller projects that have been wrapping up from when we weren't doing, not doing these smaller projects anymore, but they sort of linger, never go away. So I'm trying to wrap up those as well at the end of this year. So.
And so have you hired anyone to help you?
I have. I'm really excited about it. I hired a design coordinator. So I've hired somebody. I've made the first step, and I feel like 2022 will probably hire a couple of other people as well. Because I did what you told me to do, and I laid out our, what our company will look like in the next 5 years, and did this org chart, even though my name is in many of the little wearing the hats. But it was a really great exercise. And so I feel like I have again, clarity. I feel like that's my keyword for everything with you. Clarity is what you get from these programs. And I think that's so helpful to me.
Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing to hear. Because the reality is people take programs all the time. And I've done it where you listen in, you watch, you might do some of the work, and then you don't really, it's like you get out what you put in, right?
I am totally the queen of buying and getting sucked into something, and then it ends up staying in my inbox. But what works really well for me with the way that you do your courses is that it's trickled out, right? One module each week. So I'm forced to focus on it. I'm not overwhelmed by skipping ahead to think that I want to come up with my social media plan or my marketing plan or come up with the process before I figured out who my ideal client is. I have to participate that week. We have the 2 check-ins, the Facebook and doing the in-person call. I guess it's not in person, but the Zoom call with the other ladies. I just feel like that's really important because it gives me a deadline that I have to do the work. I am deadline driven. If I don't have a deadline, I will just be out here sort of I'll do this, I'll do that. But having it come out weekly, you get excited about it, you do the work for it, and you just sort of build on that foundation. And that's what works for me. I can't. If you gave me the whole module, I probably would have never opened it. I would have panicked and ran.
No, I'm so glad that you say that because That's what I was thinking. And that was my intention behind doing that, like dripping, where we kind of all go through it together. And because I've had so many people in that sort of space say, you should just make your course evergreen, like just have it on your website and people can buy it anytime. And I'm like, I've been really resistant because I don't think that I will get the same results. I don't think designers will get the same results if they're not with us going through it week by week with that one-on-one kind of coaching and guidance, not just from me, but from the other designers who are in the program. Now, that said, there's always that type of person that can just buy something and they'll just zip through it and they'll do it all. But I'm not that person. So I think I like set the course up for someone like me. So I'm glad to see that it wasn't lost. I do think we get really great results as a result. I do see the people, especially power of process. Momentum is a little bit harder to really kind of, what's the word? Quantify or what, like to see the success, because it's something like marketing is a little bit more, it's less tangible in some ways and it takes time to build. And I can see like you've done some incredible things. We can talk about that after. But with power of process, it's so specific. It's like focus on creating your own unique process. Okay, we're going to start with step 1. And every week we build on the last step. And then you can share within the community, here's what I'm doing. And what I think is really interesting, even though I share my process as a model and a lot of people adapt mine, but then they always end up tweaking it a little bit to make it theirs and suit the type of work that they're doing. And I love that because I truly believe that there isn't a one size fits all. Because we are all just so unique. We're in different parts of the world. We offer different service. Like one of our members was a stager. He just developed a whole process for his home staging business, which is completely different than me. But I love to hear you say that it's, you actually can get it done. And I think that's why I'm seeing so much success come out of the power of process is that like everyone, we've done it now. Have I done it twice or twice? I don't know. Can't remember. We did it twice this year. Yeah, twice. I've done it twice. And you were in that very first group. And like now it's been almost a year since we were doing it. And that's the people who did that. I mean, I would say that you're probably definitely the exception in the sense that you are really taking everything and you're sharing and you're growing and your business has transformed. Like I feel like a proud mama bear, but I also feel like I'm your friend and it's a funny little to be. I'm like so proud of you and I just want to like cheer you on. I want to like come to Connecticut and like, I don't know, do things that are Connecticut things because I'm like desperate to live on the East Coast of the US.
Do it. You guys have me wanting to move to Canada. I'm not even kidding. Like when I saw you guys all together at one of the events at the collective, I was like, oh my God, I'm not there. I want to like jump on a plane and like fly in for everything.
Oh my God, I know. I was thinking.
That's the best part about this too, though. And this is again why I've done Momentum and why I'm in your designers room is because I love the modules, but I love that weekly check-in with the other designers. It's working as a solo designer, like you feel like you're really out there sort of in this world alone and trying to figure it out. But when coming up with my process, I might have thought one thing and then posing the question to the other designers and getting their feedback and hearing why maybe they did something a little bit differently or what experience that they had that made them change their process or why it might not be a good idea. It helped trigger in my mind thinking about, oh, well, I haven't experienced that yet, but that's a really great point. And I definitely don't want that to happen to me. So I'm going to put this in. And yeah, we all have a little bit different of a process, but you learn so much from the other designers, not just from you. I think that's like just priceless for me. And that's why I keep coming back for more. I told you, anything you have, I'm in for.
Amazing. Yeah, it's really wonderful to see everyone helping each other. I love that. And the Designers Room, for anyone who's listening, it's a monthly coaching membership, but it's only open to people who have done one of my courses. That was intentional in my opinion because I wanted it to have a relatively level playing field. If it was something that was just open to anybody, then people would be coming in, they'd be like, process? What's that? And the questions would not be at the same level. So to think of it as like a more advanced group of people, and like some of the people in the Designers Room haven't actually done all of from the courses, but I think you still tend to learn and absorb a lot through osmosis and through just being a part of it. But it is really wonderful to hold accountable and learn from each other's mistakes and ideas and share. And I think that's probably part of your growth, is that you have been really great at showing up. Like, you show up. And that I think having the membership for me was, I wanted a way to help keep people accountable. Like, we did this incredible course. I get to know these incredible humans on Zoom, whatever. It's still pretty cool. You still get to know people. And then it's over. And then it was so sad. And I thought, well, why can't we keep this going? And so I love that there's that accountability check, and you don't have to show up to every call each month, but at least if you show up for one of the 2 calls, it's like, it keeps you on track. It reminds you of, oh yeah, that's right. I'm working on this thing. I'm improving my process, or I'm setting my goals, or I'm working on my marketing, which, by the way, your marketing girl, you've been so good on Instagram lately at educating the audience, your fans, your followers on your process. Do you want to talk a little bit about that evolution? Because I know you were maybe hesitant about sales and sounding salesy, and I think you've totally mastered it.
I mean, I'm still like always hesitant about sales. Like, that's like my one thing. I hate the idea of having to be like out there all the time selling. But I think learning through everybody else is like, not me selling something that people don't want or don't need. It's like, it's not really selling. It's trying to bring, I say this in quotes because it makes me uncomfortable to say, like, my gift to others. Like, I'm helping somebody like live more comfortably with their family, to really have like a different type of life. And for me, that feels much different. Like, that I want to help people just enjoy where they live. I want them to go home and not feel overwhelmed about going home. I want my clients to walk into their mudroom and not freak out because there's a pile of like shoes and kid stuff everywhere, because it's really overwhelming, and our space just so impacts us, and it can really change your mood and how you interact with your family and with your friends. And so when I step back and realize, like, it's not selling, I'm not trying to sell something that is ridiculous or doesn't work. Like, I have to remember, like, I want to help as many people as I can that want me to help them. And so just getting out there and explaining the process and how I can help them, I think I've been able to do a really good job of sort of getting out there. So I just think, looking at each part of my process, and nobody understands what an inspiration day is, right? Like, I posted about this the other day. I have a lot of clients who I talk to in like the initials, and they're like, well, if I don't shop with you, how are you going to know what I like? Like, how will you know that I don't like purple? Well, I hate purple, so I probably will never do purple in this space. But if they think like, oh, she's just going to give me a design that she likes, like, she has no idea what I want, like, they're probably not going to be comfortable going with me. But when I talk about Inspiration Day and I say, well, we sit down for 2 hours and we go over inspiration images that you have. We look at colors, we look at fabrics, we play the do you love it, do you hate it game. We sit with the husband and the wife, or who are the 2 decision makers are, and really figure out what each person loves and hates. And then I try to figure out what is that middle ground that's going to give you like this elevated living situation, but has all the elements that you love and all the elements that he loves, and sort of marry that in like this really cohesive design that will change your life, right? Is the goal. So I just think picking out the little pieces of the process and sharing it just helps educate people about how I can help them, and, just make them have a good experience if they work with me.
So what really sticks out to me from what you said there, that to me it's very clear, which is, I think, a huge part of this success of you communicating service, is you clearly understand your ideal client. Like, to me, I'm like, you have nailed it. Like, you know your client, you know their pain points, you know their struggles, the like coming home and the shoes everywhere. Like, and once you take the time, and you have to take time to do these things, right? This takes time out of your business,
a lot of time
to sit down but you've done it. And like, it's so, I've got goosebumps. I'm like so excited. Like, you've done it, and you know your client so freaking well that when you talk about the service you offer, you are immediately hitting home with those pain points, so that when you post on social media and you do stories, and like, you've been really great at like having stories with like an image and then just like some type on top talking about what you do, it never feels salesy. And I've said this to you before in one of our group calls, it never feels salesy. It always feels super genuine, that you just want to help, but not just anybody. it's clear that you want to help a certain person. And like, I imagine that is just going to like fill your funnel. Like you are just going to be bananas busy in 2022. I can already see it. So get ready to hire.
Great. Can't wait. Bring it on.
2022, man, it's going to be the best year yet. I'm excited for it.
This like one thing to think about too, right? Is like when I started Power of Process, I had no idea who my ideal client was. Like I was really like, oh, this is so hard. I have no idea. But it's evolved over the last year. Like I had one thing written down during the Power of Process, and I sort of built on that as I came in contact with more ideal clients, or had each client had sort of bits and pieces of what my ideal client was, and then sort of merging it together. It's evolved over the year. So I've gone back to that ideal client description multiple times and reread it and added to it and changed it. And then even just in momentum, going back over it, I realized I have a whole nother set of ideal clients for me. You know that I'm married to a contractor, right? And so I feel like there is a lot of clients, you know, just go right to a contractor and they want to get them to start right away and do all these things. And then I think contractors get a really bad name because they come in and they're getting all this information thrown at them, and the person doesn't know what kind of hub they want. They don't know what this does, and they make changes along the way, and their timelines get crazy. The cost of the renovation goes up, and nobody's sort of managing the whole process. And so for me, like, it's really important in 2022 to really connect with some different builders and contractors and help them sort of create this better client experience by working with them and connecting with their clients and helping them come up with this design and helping to implement. So that way the contractors can, one, like have a manage on their timeline, and two, like they stay within budget and they make more money. And so I really have found like this new ideal client that I'm really going to focus on for the next year, which is exciting to me, because I really want people to have a great experience with renovations and updates to these homes. And I feel like the next sort of step for me is to really get these contractors, like, get their name back out there, you know, like make it a better experience. And it really comes from like managing the client and managing their expectations in the process.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love this like idea of the contractor being your client. And I imagine it's not like they're going to hire you and pay your fee, right? The homeowner will still pay your fee, but it's putting yourself out there to partner with, and I love how you do that. Girl, you're good. You're good at this. This is good. But I love oh, stop it. But I really do. I love how you worded that, how you can help them. Like, most people would say, you know, I'm going to go after contractors because they have a lot of work and they can be great clients. But no, that's not what you said. You said, I've found this great opportunity to work with contractors as a client and reach out to contractors because I can provide them value and I can give their clients a better experience. I can give contractors they have a bad rap. Like, how can we improve their service? So like immediately you're already looking at how you offer, and maybe you've already written this out, that's why you know that, but it's really good. I'm very impressed. As your coach, I'm like crying my eyes out with pride. I'm like, oh gosh.
All right, I'll take it.
I mean, maybe the next frontier is you and your contractor husband have a design build firm.
I mean, that is very exciting. And I will replay this back for him to hear. And then maybe he'll be totally on board with it.
Now, it's not for everyone. Not every marriage should work together. So you know your relationship best, but that's very powerful combination. I love that. But also when you partner with multiple contractors, you know, they can bring you to the job, and also you can do more work because what we're seeing here is, you know, you work with one trade or one contractor. Well, there's only so many projects that they can handle at one given time, right? And they start to build up their trades and hire. So you can, you know, work across the city, across the state, in other states, in other countries with different contractors, and you could have multiple projects on the go.
Which is really a great thing to aspire to. I'm looking forward to that. I also think like working with different contractors and trades and just craftsmen in general, I feel like it sort of ups your game too, right? Like you learn from these other creative people, and having a team around you that you can bounce ideas off of and you can really talk designs through and get other ideas. I mean, I think it only makes the design better. And then, you know, the end product is better for your clients. And so it's a win-win for all of us to just communicate and collaborate. And yeah, in the end, it makes for a better design when you are working with these sort of like, really talented people. And it's inspiring.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Okay. Oh my God, we're running out of time. So many things to talk about. But before we get to our end question, what else would you say? I mean, the process has really changed how you deliver customer service, I imagine, right? Because you're sort of following a very streamlined way of doing things. And it might be too early to know the answer to this question, but how is it affecting your referral rate? Like at the end of the project, have you ended any projects with your new process? And what did that look like?
Yeah. So I have not actively like asked people to refer me. I don't have sort of like a setup referral process, but I worked with a client at the beginning of this year and she has referred multiple people to me. And then the same thing with the new clients that I'm getting in, they're all really referrals from that sort of initial core group of clients. And so I've seen huge success with that. I anticipate even next year being more so because I have a lot of the projects that will be wrapping up in the beginning of the year and in the spring from these clients who've gone through like that whole new process, which I think is really, really, really great. And also like repeat clients, right? So I've had, we've wrapped up some spaces and now we've signed on to do the remaining spaces in the home. And so I think that's really exciting. I think when someone invites you back in, that speaks volumes. If they didn't like you and they didn't like what you did or they didn't like the process, they would not write you a check and have you come back for more. I still keep in contact with clients too, right? Like they will check in with me. I'll invite them to a holiday party. Like I still want to see them and chat with them. So I think that's the greatest thing. If you have a project and you've done it successfully and you've done it well and they're happy, I think you don't end up losing contact with those clients.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, as you get more and more clients, it gets a little bit more challenging. And so that's where I do think having something built in is helpful to keep them top of mind, to connect with them regularly. Like there's sometimes where I'm like, oh yeah, like a project I did 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, those were amazing people. I really haven't followed up with them. I should send them an email just to see how they're doing. Right. And they may or may not be on my email list, my newsletter, but I love that you are actively scheduling in the time to work on your business and strategically plan. It's so powerful. It's interesting. I think it was the book I just finished reading it's called The One Thing. I think I mentioned it to you guys before. And towards the end of the book, he talks about blocking out your time. And he says the very first thing you should block out in your calendar ahead is time off. Right? Like schedule time off, schedule your vacation, schedule that. And then the next thing he says, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, is to schedule, what did he say? Schedule time to schedule or something like that. Like schedule time to plan. So, and he says to do it weekly. So I have to read the book again in that section, but I thought it was really interesting. Is like the second you do, it's not scheduling your big launches, your big projects, your reveals, your photo shoots. It's schedule time to sit and plan to schedule.
When you sit down and you can actually plan it out, and then you don't get like, I call it squirrel syndrome. So like you don't like get distracted by like shiny things or like something that's going by. You can really like focus in and just pick the few things that you're going to do and implement and focus on. So, because otherwise I'm just, oh, look at this. Let's try this and that. And then you feel like you're not doing enough. And then you go through that whole thing. So
yeah, totally. Absolutely.
I love that. And what else I love about that, having that one time a month, that really allows you to pivot and change things. Like what you put in stone during planning doesn't mean you have to, it's not put in stone is my point. Like you don't have to do something. If something's not working, you can shift and you can change. I think that's what I was really hung up on before is like, if I make this plan or if this is my ideal client, like I'll never be able to change it. So if I write it down, that's it. But it's not like being an entrepreneur and having a business, like it's an evolution. And every year, as long as you're continuing to improve and learn, I think like things are going to change and you're going to shift. What I want in 6 months might be a little bit different. And that's okay. And like, I want to give myself that space to do that. So I love that once a month. That's a really great idea. But I also want to take an entire month off in the summer and spend it with my kids and travel. So I love the idea of planning that now.
And then if you plan it ahead and you know what's happening, when you take projects on, you're educating those clients, then maybe you need to hire that person to help and set yourself up for success. Because if you don't book it in, you're not going to do it. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you'll wait till the last minute and then you'll be frustrated and stressed and you think you can never go away again. And that's not the case. I mean, that's why it's the best thing about being in business for yourself, right? You are in control of your schedule. I was thinking about that today when I was dropping the boys off and I was like trying to rush everyone out the door. I was like, no, I'm my own boss. Like, let's go get donuts. It's Friday. Like, we're going to live it up. Dad's out of town. Like, we are going, we're doing it. And no one's going to yell at me if I'm not in my seat at 9 a.m. Like, that's ridiculous.
Totally. I love that. Give yourself that space to focus on the things that you love, especially as an entrepreneur. You're right. And we too often get caught up in the like, well, I thought I was going to have flexibility, but I don't have flexibility and everyone else is controlling my time. And no, you control your calendar. That's the beauty of running a business.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. I think you've said this before, but like, I feel like you're like a really great combination between like the woo-woo and that side, but also like really tangible things that you can do and implement to make a difference. And for me, like, I've never thought of myself as somebody who like about mindset and all of that, but like you have eased me into that world. And I'm like, oh, you put into the world like that something and you're going to get that back in return. Like, think about things in a different way. And it really does make a difference in your days. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Well, you're so welcome. I'm really so happy to have you on the podcast. It's been so wonderful to watch, like on a personal level, to watch your journey through your business and get to know you as a friend. I'm just so excited for what the next year has to offer you. And thank you for sharing all the things. We'll definitely need to have you back on the podcast next year to find out how much further your business has progressed. We can kind of I'll hold you accountable with the podcast.
Definitely. Our anniversary every year. I love it. Sign me up.
Amazing. Okay, so it's our last minute here. I always ask every guest if they have a last nugget of wisdom to share with our listeners.
Last nugget of wisdom. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I would say just start somehow or some way to make progress. I always was thinking before that if I just don't do it all at once, I can't do it. And so I think just pick one thing and do it and don't put it off. Just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look perfect. Just do it because once you start doing it, it's going to change anyway. So don't be scared. Just push forward even when you're scared to death. Just do it.
I love it. Progress over perfection. Just start. Doesn't have to be perfect. And that's when you start to build momentum, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please let everyone know if they want to follow your journey as well, where can they find you?
So Instagram is where I'm most active. So you can follow me at August Oliver Interiors. And I'm pretty active in stories and my posting is sort of back and forth, but definitely the best place to find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
All right. I mean, isn't that so inspirational? I love Jocelyn's mindset, the way that she just takes on a challenge. She has been incredible. She's always doing the courses. Even if she falls behind, she finds a way to catch up. She shows up in our community and she shares her learning as she goes. I think it's amazing to go from charging $65 to a consultation to 1 year later doing full service, full scope design projects. Like, hello, that is amazing. And I love it because anyone can do it. Like, it's possible. It is in the realm of the possible. And I'm really grateful that Jocelyn has shared her experience with us on this podcast. I think we should check in with her in a year and see where she's at. But also join us. She's also in our Designer Meetup Facebook group. Come join, share, let us know in that Facebook group, what you loved about this episode. If you have any questions for Jocelyn. And I really just hope you guys got a little nugget of wisdom and inspiration out of that episode to take and implement in your own business. That's it, guys. See you soon. Power of Process is open. Woohoo! Honestly, wow. Guys, I'm really excited. If you're a designer or a decorator or stager or industry professional and you are feeling time-strapped, exhausted from running from project to project, there has to be a better way, then this course is for you. Power of Process is my signature course that is literally the only one of its kind that teaches design professionals how to implement a step-by-step process that's unique to you in your business. You will leave this course feeling inspired, motivated, and a lot more professional. Take it from me, this is a game-changing course. The doors are now open.
Enrollment closes April the 7th. That's when our doors close and we welcome in all of our new members. I really hope to see you guys inside the course. Go check it out at RebeccaHay.com/power of process. We got this.